Hey, what's up, guys? Charles Deeper here again, MilitaryHomeBuyerToday.com. I got a special guest with me, the one and only Maurice Watkins.
Hey, what's going on? How's everybody doing?
With his fancy hat, which, make no mistake, he's the CEO of the Warriors Group. 22 years in the Marine Corps. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't know many people that are more qualified to speak on this topic that we're about to talk about today.
Man, you give me too much credit.
Which is this, right? We're talking about, and we've both seen it, right? You got a service member that comes out to a duty station around here, whether it's Camp Pendleton or Miramar or whatever, and they're only here for 3 to 4 years, more than likely.
Right.
And they're going to PCS back out to wherever else.
Yep.
And they convince themselves somehow that they shouldn't buy a house while they're here. Well, because, I'm going to buy my dream home one day and wherever they're from. Right. What's your take on that? What do you tell those guys and girls?
I get people all the time to say, hey, I want to buy a dream home and whatnot. But I kind of look at it like this. When I was 20 years old in the Marine Corps, my first car was not a Benz. It wasn't a Beamer. I know I had to work my way up to that, but I did see people out there buying a Benz and Beamers and the Lamborghinis and whatnot, but they didn't have the money for gas because they were trying to be like the Joneses and they didn't have the money like the Joneses have. So I'm a fan of get the Toyota Prius or whatever the equivalent is, then get the Toyota Corolla, then get the Camry, then get the Lexus or whatever it is that you like and work your way up to that. But you can't get your dream car your first time around. So I always advise my clients, get the house of now and not the house of later.
That's awesome. Right. I think really what you're saying is when you hear buy a house, even if it's not the house.
Exactly.
Is that fair to say?
You hit
in other words, you're not going to get everything you might want in your dream home or your forever home or whatever.
Right.
But you're doing it more for financial reasons than lifestyle reasons. Is that fair to say?
Pretty much financial reasons and in hopes that the house would appreciate over time, in which most of the time they do, right?
I have to ask. I mean, the last few years in this county, in this state, Southern California, Riverside, San Diego, Orange, have you really seen anyone lose money a couple, 2, 3 years after buying a house?
I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. I mean, I heard about the market crash back in 2007, 2008. I wasn't a part of that, luckily, and I didn't have a house at that time. But no, I haven't had anybody lose money on a house yet.
Right. So basically, what you're saying is, if I came at you and I said, "Hey, I'm E5. I'm getting ready to get out of here in 3, 4 years or whatever." I'm afraid that I might be stuck and not be able to dispose of that home. Right. What would you say to that person?
I would always tell them, whether you're using me or you're using someone else, always ask your real estate agent or your real estate broker, hey, how much of the house is renting for around here? I want to know how much they're renting for around here because we already know nationally rent goes up about 5.3% annually, right? So if I start off with an $1,800 mortgage payment and in the neighborhood they're renting for $2,000, by the time my 3 years is up, they're going to be charging $2,000 for rent.
Makes sense.
So
it's almost as if, okay, let me ask you this. Is it not wise, or is it a bad thing to take on a little bit of a monthly deficit between what your payment is? I mean, you moved out of state, you gone on to your next duty station, and you got this hanging, you're paying $200-$300 a month more than your rent incoming is. Is that a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it depends on the area, first of all, right?
Okay.
So if we're in a place like California where your home is appreciating $40,000 a year and you're only spending $3,600 for that appreciation, I think that's a smart financial.
Wow, I never heard it put that way before.
Right.
I mean, say that again, really. So what you're saying, it's almost as if a savings account, right?
It's a big piggy bank.
Think about it. You just got a check for $200-$300 a month. Everybody else is telling you, oh, it's a bad thing, you're losing money. Right. But what they're not seeing is the invisible part of it, which is in California, typically the property is appreciating in value.
Right.
And around here, we've seen in recent years, double digits. I don't know how.
And meanwhile, the renter is paying down the house while you're living there. So, it's a win-win all the way around.
And if you tie up your VA entitlement here and then you leave, you still have options. Where you go.
Right. You still have options if you have your VA entitlement used here. And it depends on where you go. You go to Hawaii, of course, you have a lot of your VA entitlement left. You go to North Carolina, you might not have that much left, right?
Makes sense.
So it depends.
So we're talking about basically buying a house wherever you go as far as a duty station, right?
Right.
In a 20-year career, how many times do you think somebody might move?
6 times.
Because
on the average, you're going to be at a duty station about 3 years. Some of them 2, so maybe 6 to 7 times in a 20-year career. So that's 6 or 7 houses. The retirement check they're going to receive is nothing compared to the rents that they're going to be receiving out of all these houses they bought.
Right.
And
if they were to pick up, throw a figure at me, of course, appreciation here in, Temecula, California might not be the same near Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Right.
It might not, but typically, how much money could they pick up in terms of equity, you think, on average?
Here,
Wherever they go, on a 20-year.
I mean, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in a 20-year period. You can literally be a millionaire at the end of your career if you manage your money wisely, especially in places like California, Hawaii, Virginia, and even some places out in North Carolina. So yeah, I mean, if I had known what I know now back then, oh man, I probably wouldn't even be selling real estate.
Are you saying that? I mean, it's hard to say it's a hard and fast rule, but are you saying that there's really hardly ever a reason why they shouldn't buy a house where they go?
Yeah, there's no reason why they shouldn't, and here's why, Charles. You get basic allowance for housing. They give you non-taxable income to buy a house with. Why are you giving your money away to renters and landlords? You got the best loan in America. You got the VA loan, no money down, no money out of your pocket, and you're going to somebody else to rent. It just doesn't make sense. And that person probably didn't even serve this country. And they don't. And you want to own the home that you defend at the end of the day. So I stand by that, and that's what I've been preaching for years.
If all they did was take the amount of the BAH, if all they did was that, and make the mortgage payment equivalent to that, they would still make out okay.
They will make out okay. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I had somebody tell me one time, and they were adamant. This was an experienced person, and they were convinced that you got to use your VA entitlement one time. And so they were saving. I mean, they were serious about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was offending them by correcting them. They were like, well, no, I want to use it that one time when I'm ready after I get out of the military. I'm like, what do you tell that person?
I just know that a great majority of veterans aren't educated about it. So I just educate them. I just educate them and let them know, hey man, you can use this an infinite amount of times. All right, I just educate them and let them know. Because I know a lot of people think that. I know I thought that. Like, hey, I only got the VA loan one time. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I have to use it when I get out. I didn't even know I can use the VA loan while I was in because there's no one teaching us. Right?
That's kind of a flaw, huh? That people don't get educated with that.
Major.
So there's a lot of people. I don't know how a lot of people. There's definitely a contingent of the military community that's under the impression that you get to use the VA entitlement once.
Yeah.
The fact is, like Maurice said, you can use it multiple times, back to back, again and again and again.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. You can have two VA loans at the same time.
Correct. I'm a fan of that. I've done it. So.
You have tell us more. If somebody's watching this that's like, wait, what?
Okay,
how?
So am I facing this camera?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I did. So back in 2014, I was late. I was a E6. I was a young E6 when I bought my first place out in Temecula, California. I bought that house for $275,000 at the time. My payment on that home was $1,530 a month. So basically what I did at that time, I was stationed here in Southern California on Miramar, MCAS Miramar. And so what I decided to do, I got restationed on Camp Pendleton 2 years later. So 2 years later, I bought a house out in the Oceanside for $418,000 because I still had a lot of my entitlement left in San Diego County because everyone knows what everyone doesn't know. Each county has a different amount of money that you're approved for, that you qualify for. So I bought another one in Oceanside, and I rented the one out in Temecula. And I still rent that one in Temecula for about $2,600 a month. So for me, that's an $1,100 cash flow. Right. And so if I had known this, 15 years prior to that, I'd have multiple properties by now, but I just didn't understand my VA loan. So.
That's an amazing thing. And you brought something up there that we should touch on a little bit more. Every county has its guarantee loan limit, and San Diego has a pretty high limit. So you could potentially start with, say, a condo around $300 and still end up buying a house in the same county for $500,000.
Exactly.
And not in the event that you go above that, you can put money down a little bit, it might 25% of the difference, and still acquire or own two properties in the same county.
Yeah. And you make a great point. Here's another thing I've been seeing veterans do. Those dual veterans, husband and wife, I've been seeing them buy homes because each of them can buy like two homes. So between the two of them, you can buy 4 homes in 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So that's another way you can use that VA loan to your benefit.
So what we're talking about, guys, is, buying a home just because you have the opportunity to do so and not get hung up. But Maurice, what are some of the things that you find families get hung up on, and they back away from buying a home because they're hung up on something, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh my God, you're walking away from potentially 20, 30 grand a year in appreciation. What are some of those things?
Sometimes it could be the price, and they don't understand the interest rate. They may see a price of $500,000 and think, hey, my mortgage is going to be $5,000 a month, but they don't understand the interest rate. So that's probably the main thing is the price of the house. Like, hey, these prices are going up, these sellers are getting over or whatever, but they don't understand with the interest rates being so low that you still can afford a lot of house with those interest rates.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to talk to you about. So I've seen a trend here recently where two typically single service members, you don't see this a whole lot with families, buying a multifamily together.
Yeah.
And we're talking, San Diego County, $800-900 million or more.
Right.
And they're 2, 3, 4 units, and they're able to rent a couple of units out if they live and cash flow sometimes.
Right.
And each of them is using a partial entitlement to borrow. Think about it, borrowing 100%, no money down on $1 million property.
Right, man. That's a heck of an investment, especially for a young person to do that. And then, rent the other 3, if it's a fourplex, rent the other 3 units out. Meanwhile, you're living for free because these people are paying for your mortgage. I tell you, to get 4 units on your first investment, that's unheard of. That's a really savvy investor. And I try to teach that to people. I haven't seen too many people do it yet. I've heard of stories of people doing it, but everyone I've heard that's done it has been successful.
Now, San Diego County, obviously the prices are sky high. What other areas would you, if you were showing multifamily property to a service member or 2 service members, what other areas would you look at?
Here in Southern California?
Southern California, which, within commuting distance, that might be not as pricey.
I definitely would recommend Riverside County. San Diego County, it's a bit expensive down there. You're going to have some rank or be retired, but definitely areas in Riverside County, Hemet, Riverside, places like, I've even seen some here in Marietta. Right. But you got to be looking and make sure that your agent is sending you those duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, because typically they're sending you to single family homes. So you want to make sure that if you're interested, that they're sending you those as well, because there are some opportunities out there for that.
And that lifestyle might not fit everyone, right? But 2 guys living together or whatever, next door, whatnot, that works.
Yeah.
It may not work for a very long time, but hey, one day that could get turned into a rental, full-blown rental
Big
property.
Dividends, right.
And they move on to their next duty station and buy something else. Meanwhile, this thing is paying for itself.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better investment.
Yeah. I know people in their 40s and 50s that are investors that haven't done that one yet.
Wow.
I'd love to see a young person do that.
And most investors, to invest in real estate, you got to have some money. You got to put some money down, right? You're putting down 10, 20, 25%. Here we're talking about, it's quite unbelievable. You're talking about the opportunity to purchase a property, become an investor, build wealth with 0 down payment.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to believe.
Yeah, because when you're looking at a civilian that's buying a fourplex, they're buying a fourplex in investment for $1 million. These guys got to come in with $250,000.
Wow.
Meanwhile, someone with a VA loan can come in with nothing, and buy the house. So you're literally 15 or 20 years ahead of your civilian counterparts with a VA loan.
You're basically taking away every, for want of a better word, excuse or objection for someone that's newly coming into a duty station, excuse for not buying a home.
There really is no excuse, and the thing is, a lot of people say, well, that's a lot of debt. It's all of, and so is renting, but I always encourage people to buy what you can afford and you'll never lose. Right. If you can only afford $2,000 a month or $1,500 a month, I knew when I was a staff sergeant, I can afford $1,500 a month, even if I went out there in the streets and begged for it. Right. I can afford $1,500 a month. Right. So don't let your agent push you up to something that you can't afford. Just because you qualify for $1 million doesn't mean you have to spend $1 million. Right.
Right.
Spend what you can afford and you'll never lose.
Good information, Maurice. Thank you for that. I know you're very engaged in educating and teaching our service members on the VA home loan, and we've done a lot of deals together, and I can vouch for Maurice. He does an amazing job, and you lead a team of agents.
Yes.
Tell us about that real quick.
Yeah, so we're a team of agents right now. It's 13 of us. 11 of us are military, 2 civilians. We are the Warriors Group. We've been operating for about 3 years. We primarily, are in the business of educating veterans. We've educated thousands of them, educating veterans on their VA home loan, and eventually putting them in homes. And also, not only are we here, but we can help you across the country. So,
awesome. Well, thanks for giving us some of your time. And if you guys are watching this,
Thank you, Charles.
Maurice is, you're welcome. Information's on the screen, phone number, website, the whole thing, and hit him up. He'll help you sell a home too, right? You're not just showing buyers.
Absolutely.
You're able to list a home.
Next time we'll talk about those houses that got sold.
Let's do it. We'll talk about listings and get a hold of Maurice, and he'll do a great job for you. And hope you enjoyed this. At the end of the day, what we're really saying is, hey, buy a home. Don't worry so much about the home. Buy a home, because that is your ladder, right? That's like a ladder. You're climbing up that wealth ladder to where you want to be one day. So I hope you guys got something out of it. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next show.